Oh, Hubert Green. Hubert and I go way, way back. I remember the first time I met Hubert Green. It was in Hawaii. I can't exactly remember the year, but Hubert played extremely well in that particular golf tournament. And I remember he hit like a 7-iron on the 15th hole, if I'm not mistaken, and the ball hit the side of the green and jumped out of bounds.
When Hubert Green said Gary Player had no talent for being genuine, he wasn't just throwing shade. He was exposing something deeper about the men he competed against at the highest level of golf. Green had a list of 6 golfers he openly couldn't stand. And this wasn't about jealousy or petty drama. This was about a code he lived by that most of his peers had abandoned. A code forged in the most terrifying moment professional golf has ever seen. June 19, 1977, Southern Hills Country Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The final round of the U.S. Open. Hubert Green walked off the 14th green, leading by 1 stroke, grinding through the oppressive heat like he always did. Then a Tulsa police lieutenant and tournament officials intercepted him. They had news that would make most men walk away. An anonymous woman had called the FBI with a specific threat. Hubert Green would be shot on the 15th green. Not might be, would be. She named the player, the hole, the exact location. Officials gave Green 3 options. Suspend play immediately, wait for a security sweep that could delay the finish until the next day, or continue at his own risk. Green didn't hesitate. He said, "Let's go." No emotion, no fear. He told his caddy to walk at a distance, so if a shot rang out, only Green would get hit. The 15th hole became the kill zone. Police sharpshooters scanned the trees while Green stood over his ball. He hooked his drive into a tree, but it kicked back into play. He hit a recovery shot and faced a long 2-putt for par. Standing over that ball, waiting for a gunshot that could come at any second, he drained the putt. Then something remarkable happened. The adrenaline didn't make him fall apart. It made him sharper. He birdied the 16th to extend his lead. On the 18th, needing only a bogey to win his first major, Green shanked his approach into a bunker. The pressure finally caught up, but not enough to stop him. He blasted out to 4 feet and sank the putt to win by 1 stroke. In the locker room afterward, he told his caddy not to talk about it. "It's not good for golf," he said. "We don't want other kooks coming out and doing it." Even after surviving a death threat, he protected the game first. That's who Hubert Green was, and that's why he had 0 tolerance for the phonies, complainers, and showmen he competed against. Make sure you subscribe and drop a comment telling me which of these rivalries you think cut the deepest. Because what Green did to these 6 golfers wasn't just competitive trash talk. It was something closer to moral judgment. Gary Player was first on the list and Green didn't hold back. He called Player the biggest phony on the face of the earth. That's not something you say lightly about a Hall of Famer. Player was the consummate golf ambassador, always positive, always preaching fitness and international goodwill, always smiling for the cameras. He traveled more than any athlete in history and built this image of tireless optimism. To Green, who valued raw honesty above everything, that smile was a mask. The positive attitude was calculated. The whole package was designed for public relations, not real competition. Green played golf with a cigarette in his mouth and a scowl on his face. Player played with a wave to the gallery and theatrical reactions to every shot. Green saw that as gamesmanship, a strategic use of personality to distract opponents and win over crowds. It violated everything Green believed about how the game should be played. You show up, you hit your shots, you move on. You don't perform. The real breaking point came at the 1978 Masters. Green entered the final round in a commanding position. Player was 7 strokes back, essentially out of contention. Then Player went on one of the most famous charges in major championship history. He shot 64 in the final round, setting a clubhouse target that crushed everyone still on the course. Green, playing in the final groups, watched his lead evaporate. On the 18th green, he faced a 3-foot putt to force a playoff with Player. As Green settled over the ball, a radio announcer's voice cut through his concentration. Green had to back away and reset. For a player who relied on rhythm and tempo more than anything, that disruption was fatal. He missed the putt. Player won by 1 stroke. Green later said only an amateur would have been put off by the interruption, refusing to make excuses. But that moment linked him forever to Player in bitter defeat. Losing to a man he viewed as a phony after such a dramatic collapse was something he never forgot. Lanny Wadkins was next, and the hatred here was different. Wadkins and Green were too similar. Both played fast. Both were fierce competitors. Both had sharp tongues. But Green despised how Wadkins complained, especially about course conditions. The 1974 U.S. Open at Winged Foot was the breaking point. The USGA set up the course to be nearly unplayable after Johnny Miller shot 63 the previous year. The rough was ankle deep. The greens were rock hard. It was a grinder's paradise, exactly the kind of golf Green thrived in. During one round, Watkins hit his ball into the deep rough and started complaining loudly about the lie, the setup, and how unfair everything was. Green watched this display and delivered one of his most famous lines. It couldn't have been too bad. "I could still see your knees." That cut through Watkins like a blade. It exposed the complaint as whining in Green's eyes. The difficulty of the course was a fact to be endured, not broadcast to everyone around you. If the rough was deep, you hacked it out and moved on. Green despised the performative aspect of Watkins' anger. Green could be grumpy himself, but he directed it inward or at his own game. He didn't make excuses about course setup. Watkins' vocal dissatisfaction disrupted Green's concentration and violated his principle of stoic acceptance. Their rivalry was a constant territorial battle, two wolves, circling the same space. Lee Trevino represented everything Green wasn't. Trevino dealt with pressure by talking constantly. He engaged galleries, caddies, and playing partners with jokes and stories. He turned the golf course into his personal stage. For Green, who required silence and rapid execution to maintain focus, Trevino was a nightmare. Green found Trevino's constant chatter a major distraction. It wasn't just that Trevino talked. It was that his talking was strategic, a mechanism for his own relaxation that directly attacked Green's mechanism for concentration. Green believed you did your work on the course and moved on. Trevino believed the course was entertainment. The 1985 PGA Championship at Cherry Hills brought this conflict to a head. Trevino was the defending champion and led going into the final rounds. Green found himself in a direct duel with the man whose style he despised most. They traded the lead back and forth through the final round. Trevino engaged the crowd like always while Green marched grimly between shots. The turning point came on the 15th hole, where Trevino three-putted for bogey. Green, maintaining his laser focus and refusing to be drawn into Trevino's orbit, paired the hole and eventually won by 2 strokes. This victory was particularly sweet. It vindicated Green's method. By beating Trevino head-to-head in a major, Green proved his doer silent intensity could dismantle the game of the tour's most charismatic extrovert. Tom Watson embodied everything the media loved and Green resented. Watson was the golden boy, clean-cut with a classical swing. Stanford educated, adored by every journalist who covered the tour. He succeeded Nicklaus as the dominant force in golf, and the media couldn't write enough glowing profiles. Green, with his scrappy swing and Alabama drawl, felt marginalized. The 1977 Open Championship at Turnberry crystallized this resentment. The tournament is remembered as the Duel in the Sun, a two-man race between Watson and Nicklaus. They separated themselves from the field in what's considered the greatest head-to-head battle in golf history. Hubert Green finished third, 10 strokes back, but significantly ahead of everyone else. After the tournament, Green delivered a quote dripping with subtext. "I won this golf tournament. I don't know what game those other two guys were playing." On the surface, it was a compliment to their performance. Underneath, it revealed Green's deep frustration. He had played championship-caliber golf, finishing at 1 under par, yet was rendered a footnote by the narrative of the Golden Boy and the King. Green felt his unorthodox style and gritty demeanor were undervalued compared to Watson's image. Watson represented the establishment that Green had spent his life fighting from the margins. Johnny Miller brought a different kind of resentment. Miller was the blonde Californian, the desert fox, who could shoot 63 without breaking a sweat. He hit high, soaring irons that landed softly, perfect target golf. Green dug his shots out of the dirt, hitting low, piercing balls that ran out. Miller's confidence bordered on arrogance. Later in his broadcasting career, he'd earned the nickname Fig Jam behind his back. For a grinder like Green, Miller's effortless brilliance and vocal self-assurance were deeply irritating. Green once made a cryptic comment about Miller. "Everybody thought the fix was going to be in, and I was going to be the one who got Johnny Miller." The quote reveals professional jealousy mixed with annoyance at Miller's style. Miller represented California cool golf. Perfect lies, perfect weather, perfect swings. That was alien to Green's Alabama grit. Green felt Miller's style was soft compared to the hard-nosed golf required to win U.S. Opens. Seve Ballesteros was the final name on Green's list, and this rivalry had a different edge. As the European wave crashed onto the American tour in the late 70s and early 80s, Sev brought match play intensity and gamesmanship that old-school American pros found distasteful. Green was a traditionalist who valued honor and adherence to established tour etiquette. Ballesteros pushed boundaries constantly, coughing at opportune times, questioning drops, playing slowly to unsettle opponents. In Green's view, Sev's genius was undeniable, but his methods were suspect. The gamesmanship Green despised in Gary player reached its peak with Seve. Furthermore, Seve represented a threat to American dominance. Green played on 3 Ryder Cup teams and went undefeated in singles. He viewed Seve not just as a rival, but as an agent of chaos, disrespecting the established order. The coughing incidents and aggressive bending of rules were opposite to everything Green's code demanded. What connected all 6 of these feuds was authenticity. Green didn't hate these men for their talent. He resented what they represented. The encroachment of noise, artifice, and ego into what should have been pure competition. Players' phony smile, Watkins' complaints, Trevino's chatter, Watson's media coronation, Miller's arrogance, Seve's gamesmanship. Each one violated a different part of Green's code. Subscribe and drop a comment. Does golf need more personalities like Hubert Green today? Or was his brand of brutal honesty too harsh for the modern game? Because looking back at these feuds, it's clear Green wasn't bitter or jealous. He was a purist defending a version of golf that was disappearing around him. In an era where professional athletes were being media trained into bland inoffensiveness, Green's cantankerous nature stands out as raw honesty. He was a man who played under a death threat without flinching, yet couldn't abide a phony smile or a complaint about a bad lie. His legacy is that of the ultimate purist, someone who cared so deeply about the integrity of competition that he had no patience for the pageantry surrounding it. When Hubert Green walked the fairways, he did so with the conviction that golf was not a popularity contest, but a survival test. And in that test, he found many of his peers wanting. He won 19 PGA Tour events and 2 majors, but more than that, he won on his own terms. He never softened his edges for sponsors or journalists. He never pretended to like players he didn't respect. He never turned competition into entertainment. The death threat at Southern Hills wasn't just a story about surviving physical danger. It was proof of Green's entire philosophy. When faced with literal assassination, he didn't break stride. He calculated the risk, made his decision, and executed. That same mentality applied to everything else in his career. Other players complained about conditions. Green played through them. Other players sought media attention. Green avoided it. Other players built friendships on tour. Green kept his distance because he believed friends got in the way of winning. His list of 6 golfers wasn't petty scorekeeping. It was a moral inventory of everything he believed professional golf should not be. Each name represented a different violation of his code. Golf was meant to be hard. It was meant to test you physically and mentally until you broke or proved yourself. It wasn't meant to be friendly or entertaining or easy. The moment it became those things, it stopped being pure. And Hubert Green spent his entire career fighting to keep it pure, even if that fight made him the most cantankerous man on tour. Looking at modern golf, it's hard to imagine someone like Green surviving. The sport demands personality now. It demands social media presence and sponsor-friendly quotes and carefully managed images. The idea of openly calling Gary Player a phony or telling Lenny Watkins to stop whining would end a career before it started. But maybe that's exactly why Green's story matters. He proved you could win at the highest level without compromising who you were. His victory in 1985 at the PGA Championship, beating Lee Trevino by 2 strokes, was the perfect bookend to his major championship career. After years of watching Trevino work crowds and tell jokes, Green silenced him with pure execution. No words, no theater, just golf played the way Green believed it should be played. Fast, focused, and ruthlessly efficient. That win was more than another major. It was validation that his entire approach actually worked. Hubert Green died in 2018, and the golf world mourned a complicated legacy. He was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame, recognized for his 19 wins and his influence on the game. But the real legacy isn't in the trophy case. It's in the reminder that excellence doesn't require likability, that you can be difficult and demanding and cantankerous and still be right about what matters. Green didn't just expose 6 golfers he couldn't stand. He exposed what professional golf was becoming, and he refused to go quietly into that transformation. He stayed exactly who he was until the end. Tough as nails, brutally honest, and unwilling to forgive the phonies.